All right, guys. Welcome to week 4. Hey, thank you so much for the grace that you showed me. Of just, man, I'm sorry I scheduled that wedding. We had to miss a week. Honestly, I'm kind of glad. Trying to get a video made during VBS would have been ridiculously crazy. I know you're listening to this second, but I'm recording it first. I'm going to record the kind of how-tos of planning an event for Kid Life because I've just come off of a major event. And then I'm going to go back and record just kind of some biblical foundations of planning and what the Bible says about planning. And so you've already listened to that message. Hopefully it was good stuff. I'm going to just count on the fact that the Holy Spirit's going to show up in the next few hours. And so I'm just going to count on that it was awesome stuff. And so, glad you got that. And now we're just going to move into, man, how do you apply those principles? How do you take that and really plan and pull off an event for kids? Now, a lot of the principles we're going to be talking about are just events in general, and how do you pull events off just in general. And but a lot of them are going to be kid specific, and I'll kind of let you know the difference between the two as we go through it. Man, we've all been to events that are well pulled off, and we've all been to events that are poorly planned and poorly executed. They just are so different that it is just clear and evident. And so, as we talk through these principles, we want to make sure that our events are well planned and well pulled off. And so I think I've got a structure here that's going to help you think through events. And then, of course, this weekend, as we've been doing in the past, you will then take this process and put it into play as I give you an event to plan, an event that we're actually going to pull off in July, and you guys are going to plan it this weekend. So get excited about that because I think it's going to be a good project. I think it's going to be fun for y'all to work together as interns. And then I think that it'll be worthwhile. It'll be good that we're doing that. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do, number one, is we are going to, when it comes to an event, we're going to define the win. You know what? And I need to see my hands more. There we go. Bam! Hands right here. All right. We're going to define the win. And here's why we're going to do that. Often events can spiral out of control. And what I mean by that is that they become more work than they're worth. And they just become an event for an event's sake. We're going to do this maybe because we've always done it. We're going to do this because somebody had a good idea. And so all of a sudden we start putting all kinds of work into it, but we forget what we're trying to accomplish. And so number one, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define the win. What's the purpose of the event? Is the purpose of the event to reach out to the community, to bring new families in? Is the purpose to reach a neighborhood, to reach a city? What's the purpose? Is the goal to build up current kid lifers, to build truth more deeply into them? Is it fun and community, to build a connection between the kids that are already apart? Is the purpose drawing in new parents? You can see that with each of these different types of events, it's going to change what the event looks like. It's going to change how we recruit. It's going to change everything about that event. And so because of that, we are going to define the win. We're going to look at the event and we're going to figure out what are we trying to accomplish with this event. And then as we go through every other stage in the process, we are never going to forget what the purpose of this event is. VBS, it's a clear purpose, right? The clear purpose is to bring in new families. That's a given, that we want to connect new families to the church. And so we need to be thinking through how to make the event attractive to the outside. As we go through every other step of the process, we're thinking, how are we going to bring in new families? We also understand that the purpose of VBS is to build up existing kid lifers. So you can also see that an event can have multiple purposes. But if that's the case, then we want to be very clear what's primary, what's secondary. So primary, VBS is a connect. Secondary, VBS is a build-up event and a grow event. And so once we know that, it's gonna change and set the tone. So here's what we're going to do. Once we know the purpose of the event, man, I want to write out a description of what a win looks like, okay? I want a very clear understanding of what a win for this event. And so, for instance, How many people? Doing what to what end? So, for instance, VBS, we wanted 360 kids, man, encountering God while having a great time, and to see them believe some significant truths about who God is and who God says that they are. And so again, this was a clear. We knew what a win looked like. We knew what we were pursuing, and so at the end of VBS, we know whether or not we hit that. And honestly, at most campuses, we're 5 out of 6 this year, and done. And I think that we've nailed it. I think that we've had tons of kids. I gave you our goals, that we were shooting for 360 kids. But across the state now, we're over 1,300 kids, and we have one more VBS left. So again, we knew what the win looked like. We've been pursuing it with everything we've got, but we clearly defined the win. Now, when we go about writing those numbers, we don't just kind of come up with them out of our head, and especially anywhere else. But we're going to seek God. We're going to say, God, what do you want to use this event for? God, what goal should I set for this event? And then we're going to really seek Him and ask Him for that win. What's the win? God, what is the win? And we're going to do that because when He gets the win, when the event is done and that number, that goal has been reached, it wasn't your goal ever because you sought God. He gave you the number. He gave you the vision. He gave you the resources. He gets the glory. And man, when you set up an event where God's going to get the glory, you just need to know this about God. God moves for His glory. There's a psalm where Moses is just talking about God, and he says, man, don't, well, it's not, it's in the Exodus. I don't know if it made the Psalms anyway. Sorry, I'm kind of going off my head here. But where Moses basically says, Lord, for your name's sake, don't cast these people away. And he goes on to explain how the nations are going to see it and how His name is going to be maligned. And because of that, man, God hears his request because God respects whenever our heart is His glory. When our heart is His glory, He responds. So again, we're going to seek Him for that win. God, please help me define this win so that when we reach it, so that when this event wins, You can get the glory because You gave us the goal, because You gave us the resources. I want You to win. So again, when it comes to planning and pulling off an event for kids, and honestly, again, this is a principle that is global, that is universal. It's not just kids events. Is we're going to define the win, so that we know our goals, so that we know our target. With everything else that we do, we know the target. So again, we're going to define the win. Next, we're going to decide on the people. Now listen, it's go in this order. Just trust me on this. You want to work in this order. You want to start with defining the objective, defining the win. Now here's the deal. You may have a core group of people you're already working with, and you may work together to define the win. But once you know where God is leading, once you know where God is calling you to, the next thing you want to do is decide on the people. Okay? Who do you need on the bus? Jim Collins wrote this book called Good to Great, and he used this phrase, on the bus, and this idea of finding the right seat on the bus, talking about the role that they play. And what he said is this. He's talking about organizations and about changing organizations for the better, but it also works in events. And what he said is this: get the right people on the bus. Don't be so concerned about the role that they're going to play first. Just make sure you get the most talented people possible on the bus. And so again, who do you need on the bus? Who are you looking around and going, okay, I want them to be a part of this event. I want them to be a part of the event. Here's another question you need to be asking. What roles do you need to fill? Okay? What roles do we need to fill? Man, do we need, this year at VBS, Hope and I, our giftings are in big picture. I mean, our giftings are, man, we cast vision. Our giftings are, we paint the picture. Our giftings they are not strong when it comes to details. When it comes to just communicating all the time. I mean, just their details, when it's administration, we kind of stink at it. And so as a result, we knew that this VBS, we needed someone to fill the role of an administrator, a VBS, a top-level administrator who knew everything that we knew, who was thinking about everything that we were thinking about, but who was doing it at a very detailed level, whereas Hope and I were just dreaming, and we were seeing the event, and we were seeing the people that we needed. We're great at big picture stuff and people stuff, but all these small, all the minutia, we were just dying last year, and so we knew that that's a role that we needed to fill. So what are the roles that need to be filled? Man, do I need someone who's good on stage? Do I need someone to lead worship? Do I need someone who's a good Bible teacher? Do I need someone who's just crazy and just, man, provides fun for the kids? Do I need someone who's good at building things? Again, you know the purpose of the event. You know what the event's about. And so who do you need? What roles do you need? So have a list of roles because, again, getting the right people on the bus and getting the right people in the right seats, all of a sudden it'll set you up for success. So again, even before you have a complete plan, even before you start thinking through the tasks, think through the people. Again, as we talk through this, you'll see how this works, but just trust me on this. People first, tasks second. And so when it comes to a VBS, we're always going to get our directors on board. So I'm not going to plan anything by myself in isolation. Forget that. I want all the kid life pastors around me. And then I want the next level. So all my kid life pastors are going to invite their key people. And we're going to get in a room. And in that group is when we're going to really think through and finalize what this event looks like. Okay? So again, define the win. What's the purpose? What's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish with this event? Number 2, decide on the people. Who are the people that you know that you want on board? And what roles do you know you have to have filled? Because then you're going to want to invite those people to be a part of your event. And you can already communicate to them what the objective of the event is because you've defined the win. You see in the process, define the win, decide on the people. Next is this, document the plan. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Anybody who comes from a Baptist background, man, you are loving the alliteration, right? It is happening. We are on D's and we're not leaving the D's. Trust me, they go all the way across, so get excited. So again, document the plan. Again, people first, plan second. All right, I've often made this mistake. Planning before you have the right people on the bus keeps them from feeling ownership of the plan. I've made this mistake early in my leadership a lot because I'm overconfident sometimes of my own ideas and my own abilities. And so I kind of push forward thinking that, man, this is a great idea. We're going to roll with it. Not realizing that there's power in team. Not only in, man, there are going to be great ideas that we can take from, but also there are going to be people who can do things that I can't do. And not even if people, 85% is my magic number. If somebody can do something 85% as well as I can do it, I'm going to hand it off. Because if I can hand off something that's going to be performed at 85%, then I'm free to go do something else, to employ my skills and talents elsewhere, to find those things that only I can do. A leader once told me when I was a college student, he said, man, when you take a significant leadership position, you always need to be thinking, I need to only do what only I can do. Let me say that again just so you get it. It's such a good principle if you're going to lead in the future. I need to only do. Okay, so that means I'm going to cut out every other task, and I need to only do what only I can do. You see, as the leader, there are certain things that only I can do. And I need to not do anything outside of that. So, for instance, setup night happens at VBS. And VBS is on my mind, so it's easy to talk about it. And it's the biggest event that we do in the state. And so VBS comes around, right? And we're on setup night. Now, I'm a doer. I'm an achiever. I have to constantly be working. And so I could easily, get up in the lift and start hanging things. I could start carrying things back and forth. And I'm going to do that a little bit so that people see that I'm working. But for the most part, I'm going to plant myself in a high-traffic location because I know that as soon as people finish a task, they're going to be looking for another one. And I want to be easily found because guess what? There are only probably 3 people at the setup night who know everything that has to be done. And so the thing that only I can do is only I can make sure that they know what to do. That's the thing only I can do. Now that one's good for it. That one's, that's a freebie. That wasn't even in my notes. But just when you take a significant leadership position in an event, then you need to only do what only you can do. That's just you got to keep that in mind. But here's the deal: you need a team, because again, if you can get your people first and then start planning together, they feel ownership of this. They feel ownership of this, and then they will launch out to do it, and you're not stuck doing it yourself. Um, Again, past mistakes. I've done a lot of things by myself, um, or with just a handful of key people because of poor leadership, because I didn't get enough people in the circle when it came time to plan, and I didn't value their ideas enough. And so I've learned from that, and really, so I want the right people on the bus. I want talent on the bus, and then I want to gather together and plan together. So here are some things that we need to nail down. We already know the purpose, right? We know whether we're bringing in new families. We know whether it's an establishing event to where we're trying to build up and grow people, or we know whether it's just a fun community event where, again, we're trying to have a great time and connect them more deeply with their small group leaders, connect them more deeply with um, the leader, the Kid Life leaders. We know whether we're trying to connect them more with kids. Whatever it is, we know the agenda. And so, we know the purpose. So now we're going to schedule the agenda. Again, we're going to keep our eye on that. What's the win? And we're not going to put activity in for activity's sake. We're always going to be building towards something. Then also the next thing we're going to do as we plan, so we've got the agenda. Here's what we know is going to happen. That gives us slots that we need to fill. Another question that we're going to answer is, who owns what? Okay, we've got all these pieces on the agenda. We're going to have, kind of some fun games here. Then we're going to have a Bible story here. Then we're going to do this craft here. And then we're going to play another game here. And then we're going to end up with worship, whatever the agenda is. But then the next thing we're also going to do is, okay, who owns what? Who's going to come up with these ideas? Who's going to really develop these? And then I'm going to hand off ownership to the different people. That's why I want people first and then plan. Because now we're all together as we plan. They're getting all kinds of good ideas. But then I'm handing off. Okay, so you're going to take this. You're going to take this. And as you're handing things off, here's kind of a process that you're going to go through as you hand things off. Okay? So again, you may not do it as you're sitting there. You may follow back up afterwards. But when you hand something off for an event, and here's some of the things that you need to do. Number one, you need to find the win for them. Okay, this craft, man, it needs to keep people involved. It needs to last about 10 minutes. Here's the win. You're going to be as specific as possible, and you're going to communicate it in terms of outcomes, not process. Give them the end result you want to see, and then let them solve the problems. That's huge. It keeps you from micromanaging people. It keeps you from micromanaging things, and it allows them to be creative. And if you want to draw, and I'm talking about not only now when you're young, but as you move forward in leadership, as you take bigger and bigger positions, give opportunities for creativity. That's why we're gonna pass off outcomes, not processes. Because when we pass off outcomes, it allows high capacity leaders to figure it out. And we want more high capacity leaders. So we have to give them those opportunities for creativity. Trust me, if they need help, they'll come to you and you can help them. But if they're just ready to roll and go for it, clearly communicate the outcome you want to see and then let them go figure out how to do it. Okay? So again, define the win for them. Next thing, have them communicate back what a win looks like. Because it's one thing to talk. Got it, go. And then you show up at the event and it doesn't look anything like you said it should look like. Maybe you've never had the joy of leading yet, but that happens sometimes. And so I learned this little trick, that when I ask you to do something, ask you to communicate it back to me. So tell me again what I just said. And guys, I'm still learning a lot of these lessons. And this is one of those that I need to do more, because I've communicated so many times thinking that they got it, thinking that I've nailed it, and I don't get what I want. And that's frustrating. And it also hurts the event. And so, hey, I know you probably heard great. Say back what a win looks like. Tell me again what a win looks like. And this just ensures that they understand. Next, hey, do you have any questions for me about this piece of the event? They say, nope, I'm good. You say, great. Let me ask you this. I know you're just getting started. As you think about it, are there any resources, anything that you need from me? And then wait. Don't. And if they start asking you for things that and they're not really working on it, they're not really thinking about it, they're just kind of turning back to you and asking you to figure things out. Don't be afraid to say, hey, that's a great question. I'm going to let you figure that one out. Here's what I want to see. I think you can figure it out. So think about it, and tomorrow, next couple of days, bring me a couple of ideas, and let me know what you think we should do, and then I'm sure I'll probably like those, but I'll give you my 2 cents then. Just because we're always developing new leaders, we're always helping other people think through what they need to be doing. And how to lead in the future. So that's one of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna continue to ask them, figure that out. So, okay. So what's the agenda? Who owns what? How are you gonna get people there? What's your recruitment strategy as you're gathering the group and planning the event? Man, how are you going to get people there? Are you going to do flyers around the area if it's a community outreach thing? Are you going to make an announcement in Kid Life? Are you going to ask for a Big Life announcement? Are you going to use social media? Are you going to try to get the kids pumped up? Are you going to give rave cards to the parents? Just what can you do to get people there? And especially here, you want to keep your eye on the prize as far as what the win looks like and who you're trying to bring in, because then it's going to adjust how you recruit. Okay? Next, when are you going to meet to check up on progress? Because again, you're not going to just meet once about an event. You're going to meet multiple times, and you're going to make sure that everybody's taking care of their role. Everybody's taking care of their part of the puzzle. So you're going to make sure that you're moving forward and you're progressing. And so again, just having a plan of we're going to meet every 2 weeks. We're going to meet every week. We're going to meet every month until it gets, 1 month from the event. Then we're going to meet every week. Whatever it needs to be, you're going to schedule those things. Here's the deal. When it comes to documenting a plan, here, I'm going to tell you the greatest myth about communication. Because as a leader, and guys, you're in this internship program because I see you as a leader. I see your potential as a leader. And so, understand this, communication is huge for leaders. So here's the greatest myth. This has been so huge for me to know. The greatest myth about communication, watch this, is that communication has occurred. Let me say that again. The greatest myth of communication is that communication has occurred. See, the problem with communication is the moment we think that we've communicated, we stop communicating. And the moment we stop communicating, communication has ceased. And so, again, we never stop communicating. We are constantly communicating what a win looks like. We are constantly communicating what the steps are. We are constantly communicating the vision for the event. We are constantly talking about it because we're always adding new layers. You communicate it to your lieutenants, the people who are right under you making the event happen. When they add a new layer, you're constantly talking to them about the vision of the event, what the win looks like for the event, everything that's going into the event. As they add new people, you're communicating the event to them. I mean, again, you're making announcements, you're communicating about the event. You never stop communicating about an event because, again, the moment you stop communicating, thinking that you've accomplished it, you've already lost. And so the greatest myth of communication is that communication has occurred. Communication is only present tense. Communication is constantly communicating. Okay? Got it? Sweet. Define the win. Decide on the people. Document the plan. Determine the resources. What do you need to pull this off? So what's your budget? How much money can you spend? Whoever your direct report is, whoever has asked you to do this event, ask them for a number. Hey, how much can I spend for this? If they don't give you a number, you spend whatever you need to pull off the event. And then if they get upset, you say, next time give me a number. I mean, because if not, you just kind of spin your wheels. So ask them, hey, how much money can I spend on this event? And if you don't have someone who's asked you to do the event and you just want to do it on your own, well, how much money do you have? Whether that means asking again your direct report for money to do the event, whether it means fundraising, know how much you can spend, because that's a key resource question, and it's going to determine what you're able to do. Now, good news for us. Again, VBS is an example. We determined VBS budgets October of this year for next year. So from the beginning, I know what I can spend. I know what my resources are. The next thing as far as resources is, what do you need to borrow from people? Like, there may be things that you don't want to spend money on, that you don't want to buy, but that you want to use. And so you need to figure out what you can borrow from other people. And then once you decide what you need to borrow, how are you going to reach out to them? How are you going to seek out and request that they loan you those things? You're going to use email, social media. You're going to do an announcement from the Big Life stage. You're going to hand out rave cards. You're going to hand out sheets. Again, how are you going to communicate it? And you might as well use multiple methods, because that's just the better way. All right, what's your budget? What do you need to borrow from people? Who's going to do the shopping? Because when it comes to getting stuff, it's probably good that somebody own the shopping, just so that you combine labor. All this shopping has to be done. Now, everybody can do their own shopping and bring receipts, but man, if you have one person doing the shopping, everybody gives their list to it, and there's one shopping trip, if you can pull that off, it simplifies it so much. So again, that's something you might want to ask. Then, as the leader of the event, you just want to ask every person that you've put in charge of something, make sure that they have what they need. Hey, do you know what you need? Ask resources questions to all the folks who are leading significant pieces of your event. Do you have what you need? Just make sure that they're getting what they need. Make sure that they're thinking about what they need. Because if you're asking them this, it's going to keep things from sneaking up and biting you in the booty. Okay. Define the when, decide on the people, document the plan, determine the resources, and finally, do it. Do it. Okay? Now it's time to actually see the event pulled off. So here's a couple of things. 1 week out. 1 week out, here's some questions. Do you have everything that you need? Now, in this point of the game, this is when I personally become neurotic. I mean, it's ridiculous. I will run through the event. I put 10 times in my notes. It's honestly closer to 100. I will run through the event beginning to end, looking for what am I missing? What am I missing? And then once I have that and I order all that stuff, or I buy that stuff, then I think through again, and I go back again from beginning to end, and I do it again. Again, I may do this 100 times, making sure that I have everything I need, every song on the playlist, everything that I need to buy. Have I got the right people in place? But again, do I have everything that I need? And I'm just trying to think through the event, trying to figure out if I have everything that I need. Do I need to make a last-minute recruiting push? What's the buzz about my event? Does it seem like people are coming to my event? Well, if do I need to make a push? Do I need to somehow make one more push to get people there? And what's the best way to get your message out to a large audience? Again, Big Life stage, Kid Life stage, social media, flyers in the church, flyers at the location of the event. Man, do I need to make a last-minute push? Do I need to start calling significant families and just asking them if they're coming and who they're bringing? Again, do what you need to do to get the win. Because God, again, you sought God. You asked Him, what is He doing? And He showed you. And so you want to seek Him for the win. Here's another event. If it's an outside event, a week out, you can start checking the weather. What's the weather going to be like? Does it look like you're going to need to have a plan B in place that's weather related? Because if you do, you need to start thinking about it. And a week out is a good time that you'll really be able to see your chances of rain and know and plan it. Okay, so that's 1 week out. 1 day out. Are you prayed up? I mean, hopefully throughout this entire process, you've been relying upon God. You've been remaining in Jesus. But man, when you're 1 day out, are you prayed up? Have you sought God for this event? Because no matter what the win, whether it's fun and community, or whether it's bringing new families in, or whether it's building up folks in the truth, you need God in the mix. And so are you prayed up? Number 2, does everybody know their assignment during the event? Who do I need to call to make sure that I over-communicate? And again, they maybe say, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. But man, make sure you over-communicate. I didn't do that night 1 of VBS, and there was some miscommunication as a result, and there was some tension, there was some conflict that I had to resolve because I didn't over-communicate. And so I guarantee you, night 2, night 3, I was on the phone from about 2 till about 4, just calling people. Okay, you got what you need. You got to take care of it. Okay, yeah, okay. Just want to make sure that you got this on. Okay, you ready for this? Okay, we're going to do this at this time. You good? Okay, say it back to me. Okay, great. Sounds good. Next person. Just calling the folks who I kind of oversaw and making sure that they had everything ready that they need to have ready. Again, to over communicate. Have I packed up or pulled out everything that I need? Again, this is just that stuff question. Am I ready? Do I have everything kind of assembled, making sure that I have all the stuff that I need for the event? Because events take stuff. And the last thing you want to do is get to an event and then realize that you've forgotten a significant piece. And honestly, as much as I overthink things, I always forget something. For instance, we ended up putting our offering in the vortex cannons because I forgot buckets. Just forgot them. They were in the office back, and so came time for the offering. There were no buckets, and so I brought out some vortex cannons, and we filled them up with money. It was awesome, and yet horrible because I definitely forgot about that. So again, you can make the quick recovery, but man, just think through things. Anybody feeling overwhelmed about events? Events can be kind of crazy, and that's why you need a good team. So 1 hour out. All right, you've got 1 hour till the event. What do you need to be doing? You need to ask yourself real quickly, I've got 1 hour before the event. What can I do now so that when 15 minutes until the event shows up and kids start arriving, what do I need to do now so that I'm freed up 50 minutes out to really just interact with the kids, just know them. And then also, 1 hour out, I need to start asking myself, have I released this event? Or am I still clinging on to it? Have I released this event and given the results to God, and I'm just going to seek excellence and just do my part well and trust God for the results? Have I declared that it is for His glory, or am I still clinging to it for some reason? Is it still somehow about me? Because if it's still about me, then an hour out, I need to make sure that I let my hands go and that I release it to God so that He can do what He wants to do with the event. And so He doesn't have to be hamstrung by me and what I think the event should be about. Okay? So again, we're going to define the when. We're going to determine what we're trying to accomplish with this event, and we're going to define it. How many people doing what to what end? Now we know the when. Now we know what we're pursuing. Okay? We're going to decide on the people. Who do I need to get on the bus? What talented people do I need to get on board for this event? And then what roles do I need people to fill to make the event a success? People first, then the plan. So third is I'm going to document the plan. And so document the plan. Man, what's the agenda? Who owns what? What's my recruitment strategy? And then how often are we going to meet to check in on our progress? So again, what's the plan? We're going to get that in place. Determine the resources. What's my budget? Where am I going to get things? And then finally, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Okay? And I gave you a list of things to think about: 1 week out, 1 day out, and 1 hour out. So guys, I know that was a lot of details. And I hope that you paused throughout, because even I honestly got a little bored with this one because it's just so many details. But if I'm going to give you this in written form, I'll just give you my notes. That way you can have it, pull it out as you're thinking through events. But again, this weekend we're going to take this process. I'm going to give you an event. I'm going to tell you what the purpose is. And then I'm going to ask you guys to go through this process for me and to come up with a plan and to pull it off. So I look forward to hanging out with you all this week. Man, I really missed not seeing you guys this last Saturday. So pumped about seeing you again. Peace.